All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I know folks are filtering in, getting ready to join the program today. I just wanted to say welcome to everyone. My name is Claire Fuller. I am the Public Programs Manager here at Hillwood Estate Museum and Gardens. So thank you all again for joining us this afternoon. So pleased that we can gather virtually here today for our virtual floral design workshop, this Ikebana-inspired arrangement. So we hope those of you who are in the DC area will be able to visit soon to explore our current exhibition, From Exile to Avant-Garde, The Life of Princess Natalie Pele. You can find more information about our upcoming programs, such as more floral workshops, more of our horticulture programming, and lots of other exciting things that we're doing this summer on our website at hillwoodmuseum.org. And I'll go ahead and drop that link in the chat for folks who want to just click right through. Before we get started, I just wanted to add a couple quick notes here. Our wonderful floral and event decor designer, Ami Wilber, will build an arrangement on camera step by step and stop for questions along the way. This demo will take about 30 to 45 minutes, and then via the chat feature below, you're welcome to submit any questions that you have along the way. Whenever they pop up in your mind, I will go ahead and ask Ami your questions and she will answer them as they come up. So after the demo, if you all are following along at home, that would be wonderful. If you want to share, we can go ahead and feature some folks who are building along at home at the end of the program. So it is now my pleasure to pass us over to Ami Wilber.
Great. Thank you, Claire, and welcome everyone. Happy July. Today we're going to be doing a Ikebana dish arrangement. And I add the ish onto it because as I have taken classes in Ikebana, I am not certified. I am not a master of Ikebana. I would not ever claim to be an Ikebana instructor, anything like that. But what I wanted to do was sort of tie in, how what we're doing here at Hillwood in terms of focusing on the Japanese style garden here. And we just had Tanbata last night. So it was just sort of a fun way to sort of segue into doing an arrangement that would also kind of tie in the theme of Japan. So as you know, Ikebana is a very old and very traditional form of floral arranging. But today what I wanted to do was sort of take East meets West kind of attitude about how we're going to go about and create an arrangement. So while we'll be doing some things that are used and also some of the theories and symbolism of Ikebana, this is really just more sort of my take on being a floral designer here at Hillwood, and then also just sort of borrowing from the aesthetic of Ikebana. So that being said, one of the things I wanted to really focus on was the container. So today we have this little footed compote bowl, which is something that you would see, I think, a lot in sort of traditional Ikebana. If you look on the inside, there's sort of like a little bit of a well. And what that's going to do is it's going to hold, we're going to use a traditional kenzen or a flower frog that will go into the container. So this time around, we're not going to be using any chicken wire, but we're going to be using these kenzen frogs or the flower frog. And that's going to be what is going to hold our stems into our container. So you have to bear with me, but when I did the measuring of my containers, these were supposed to fit right into the bottom, but they don't. They're just slightly a little too big. So what I've done is I've gotten some floral putty, which is this green, very sort of sticky stuff. And then I can take the bottom of my kenzen and I can actually, look towards the camera, stick it in with this putty. And as you can see, this putty is very sticky and it will hold my kenzen into the container nicely. So that is sort of what I have in terms of prepping for my container. One of the other things that I like to always use is I'm going to just bring this over here like so we can see what's going on. So this is, you'll see that it's rotating. So I like to use a lazy Susan. And that also helps with being able to like look at my arrangement sort of from all sides, and then, be able to figure out what's going on. All right, I'm gonna do a little swap-a-root though. Hold on for 1 second. I've heard this before. I haven't done this in a little while, so it's just bear that better. Oh no, that's worse. This. All right, sorry. Okay, there we go. So now you can see the container, you can see the bottom, and it's on this lazy Susan. So the first thing that I'm going to do, which is always sort of the most important, is I'm going to put water into my container. So one thing that people ask me a lot is if we put anything into the water, and we don't. The only reason for that is because whenever we're doing any sort of arrangements for the mansion, we don't like to put anything in that could potentially stain or damage the mansion. So I'm just using regular old tap water. But if you have those little, flower packets of things, you can always put that in. It's typically a mixture of some sort of like cleaning agent, like a bleach, and then also like a sugar to help revive the flowers. But again, this is just regular tap water. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the principles of Ikebana. So one of the things that I kind of do as a takeaway from reading about and doing Ikebana is one of the important numbers is 3 in Ikebana because it is supposed to represent you have heaven, you have earth, and then you have man. So it's the sort of symbolic 3 that you're using this triangular theory of design also that we use a lot in Western design as well. So I'm going to use that as sort of my base, and I'm going to do that so I can kind of create my 3s and my triangles with all of the greens that I have. So I guess before we get started, I should show you what we have today. So for greens today, we have some sword fern. We have these Galax leaves. We have dianthus. And then for flowers, we have gloriosa. We have orange freesia. And then last, we have purple clematis. So again, the first thing I want to do is I want to create a triangle using my sword fern. So I'm going to pull off any of the greens that I have on the stem, and I'm just going to have a nice bare stem for when I put this into the water. I'm going to cut everything at a 45-degree angle. It's a little bit thin, but you can kind of see. And that is just going to allow for more water to access into the container or into the step. So the one thing that you're going to have to sort of figure out when you're using any kind of a floral frog or this Kenzen is that these stems are very thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually puncture it into the Kenzen. So I'm going to show you on here. So what I would do is I'm going to look for one of those sort of sharp pins, and I'm going to then stick the stem into, see this up close, into the pin. So that when it is in, I can't do this doing it this way, but you get the idea. So you're going to stick it into the pin, but you're going to be doing it down this way. So when you stick it in. So again, I'm going to do that so that the stem will kind of stay in place. And then I'm also going to use this again because it's a little bit tricky to kind of get the stem to do what you want it to do at first in the Kenzen. I'm actually going to cut this down a little bit shorter. And I apologize because I think that these little skinny stems are a little bit tricky, but we'll get there. So if you have these at home, you might find this just a little bit frustrating at first. But you're going to stick it in, and then, you know what? This is not working the way I thought it would. So let's just hold off 1 second there. All right. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. We're going to go in with our dianthus. This is a little bit of a thicker stem, and you'll find it's going to be a little bit easier. So again, I think the other thing is I'm going to cut these at a flat angle instead of having it be at a 45-degree angle, because I think that this is going to then stick into the Kenzen a little bit easier. So again, I've just gone ahead and I've put in at a flat angle, and you can now see that it's holding up nicely. So I'm going to go in with my next one. And again, I'm trying to create a little bit of a triangle here. So I've got 1, 2, and it's the same on this side as well. But I'm going to put the third one so it's in a lot closer to the bottom. And again, I'm pulling off any of these leaves. And the one thing I like to do sometimes is if I'm trying to figure out how high or how tall I want my stem, I'll hold it up to the bottom and sort of measure off from the bottom to kind of cut from there to know how much I need to take on. And again, then that third one, I'm going to make this just a little bit shorter so it sits resting on the lip of the container. Like that. So then again, you see that I've got these nice 3 making a little triangle. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with these Galax leaves, and I'm going to follow along that same principle of working in 3s. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this pattern on this side. So one of the things about Ikebana that is very different than the way we typically arrange, especially here at Hillwood, is they like a minimal aesthetic, so that you're not really focusing in on sort of the abundance of material, but you're really focusing in on material that has meaning, that has a certain symbolism for you in particular. And also you're going to be sort of arranging by sort of this guiding feeling of using emotion towards what is speaking to you in the arrangement and how is it moving. So again, I love these Galax leaves, especially for anything sort of Ikebana-ish related. And what I want to do is I want to kind of create almost like a little landscape with my material. So I'm thinking about what I'm doing in terms of not only just floral design, ooh, that was a floral noise, but also I wanted to think about it in terms of, landscape. And if I was creating a little landscape in my container. So again, I'm not going to be like covering up all of the bowl or the rim. I'm not going to be concerned that you'll be able to see down and see the Kenzen. I'm more concerned about, how it's looking aesthetically and if it is feeling like a little landscape for me. So I'm going to hold off on my last scallop sleeve for just a moment because I'm not sure I'm going to want to place it back here or over here in the front. So I'm going to go in next with, I'm going to try this fern again. Let's see if this works this time around. And you almost want to think of doing your Ikebana as like a form of meditation. So that I'm talking a lot right now because I'm kind of guiding you through it. But if you're to be doing this at home, you almost want to think of this as like a practice that you can kind of do by yourself, a way to kind of help calm down from the day, or something that you can really just sort of have full attention to and have like an intention and a meaning behind what it is that you're doing. And it's like a really nice way to kind of relax your mind, but then to also be so focused in on one thing that it kind of alleviates any of the other things going on out there in the world. And so again, I'm really just sort of gently pushing the stem into one of the flower frog pins so that it's then just sort of holding up. And what I'm trying to do is create this sort of arching up over to the right and then sort of flowing down over to the left. Okay, so this is sort of what it looks like from the back. And I'm going to focus a little bit more on the front of this. I'm actually going to change the direction. This first one here. And again, just like sort of with the chicken wire, the Kenzin allows you to pull the stems in and out for a little bit more ease. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to go in and I want to start using some of my flowers. So I found this freesia in particular kind of fun because it has this lovely little arching curve to it. Let me just fix this gal right here, just for I'm gonna go in this stem here. Again, I've sort of changed tack. I'm really cutting everything now on a flat angle so that it sticks into the pin with a little bit more ease. And again, we're using sort of this idea of 3 as a number, but I'm going to only limit that to my greens because for my flowers, I want it to feel again a little bit more of the Western aesthetic and I want it to be a little bit more full. I'm going to take 5 stems of the freesia. But I'm still going to go in and create this triangular pattern with the freesia. And again, I'm really thinking of this as a landscape more than a floral arrangement. So I want to have things that are at one height, things at another height, things that look like they're growing out from the container as well. Okay, so I'm just adjusting it a little bit. So I was looking at it from the back, which was a little difficult. So I've moved this over. So again, to kind of keep this line going. This one is a little bit too, I didn't like the way it was being blocked in the back. So I'm going to cut this down to make it just a little bit lower. So I am going to do a little bit of a cheating trick here. I'm going to use a little bit of the dianthus stem and I'm going to stick it in here so that I can have my fern stick in the right direction. So then my fern is now holding steady. So what I did, I cut my dianthus stem like this. I took my fern and then I put it into the stem of the dianthus. Then I'm going to cut this again so that it will now hold my fern a little bit more snug in there. Sometimes when you have really thin stems like this, it's a little bit easier to use something else to kind of prop into the Kenzen, which I should have thought about earlier, but I didn't. So now here we are. I'm going to do it with this one as well. I'm going to just put this in. So I have like a little, this one actually goes all the way through, but I'm going to then just use this as a way. All right, so now everything is doing what I would like it to do. I'm going to go in with one more freesia. And again, this one has this kind of fun little curve to it. So I'm going to allow it to have that little bendiness to it. Okay, so I'm looking now and I want to have my last Galax leaf come down in here, into this area here. So again, I'm gonna go in with my little dianthus trick. Put it into that stem. And I want that to now sort of sit and hang from the edge. All right, moving on. So let's go on with our clematis next. And this has a lot of greenery on it. So you can either leave the greenery on or you can take it off. I'm going to take off some of the lower ones at first to see how I like that. Again, this one is going to follow the same curve. This one has a lot of greenery on it, so I'm actually going to cut it. So I have the greenery and I also have the flower. I love how open this one is, so I'm going to use that. So you can see it right there. Its little faces shining forward. I want to make sure that the back is not naked, even though it is more of a one-sided arrangement. So I'm going to start filling in some of the areas back here. So again, that it's not a little naked back there, but you can kind of see. So this one I've cut down a little bit shorter. And again, I'm still going in with that rule of 3. So I have, no, actually how I feel about this one. We'll see. Might take off this here though. Okay, again, with some of these leftover leaves, I'm going to fill in the back area so that they're not naked back there. And I like these buds here, so I might add this in the front area here. So then I'm going to add my last little clematis over here on this side. And actually add it back here. And I have one more little bud that I'm going to hold on to for just a second because the sort of main focal flower, I would say star of the arrangement, are going to be the Gloriosa lilies. And these are very delicate, and I want to make sure that they have enough sort of clearance and space because I'm going to kind of gather them all here in the front. So I'm going to, you can see, take off this leaf here so I can then create a little opening. So I have this opening down here where I'm going to start to cluster in my Gloriosa. I'm sorry I have to do this so I can kind of see where they're going. And I love them because to me they have these like little fingers. They almost look like almost like a little insect there. And I want all of them to kind of be close together. So it looks like they're having a little bug convention together. And these are going to also be like down here towards the bottom. And again, these are kind of short stemmed, but it's okay because I have them sitting at kind of the bottom of the container. Like that. I have two more that I want to bring up and over to this side over here so that there's a little bit of color and intrigue in towards the back as well. This one back there too. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is kind of go in again with some of these other like little buds from the clematis. And I just want to kind of look at my arrangement and sort of just fill in some areas in the back. And I'm going to look at my arrangement to kind of see what I like, what isn't working. I don't feel like this one here works right now. So I'm going to pull this one out. And I want to kind of continue something over in this direction. So I'm going to move that over here. I'm just going to rearrange some things that I think to kind of cluster it a little bit more. And these Gloriosa, I'm going to do the same with the little stem here. I'm going to just put that into here. So fix this one here. And move this up and over to the side like this. Okay, so then this gal is going to go tuck back in here to give a little bit of depth. And then I have my, so I think I'm going to put this last clematis back up in here. But I don't want to take away too much. So I'm going to pull off this back leaf like so. All right, let me look, see what is going on. And I feel like it's a little bit heavy on this side. So I am just going to add in one more piece of leaf that I saved from my clematis. And I'm just going to add it in over here to give it a little bit more balance. So now the back isn't naked and a front is like this. So let me see what I can do. That. Then see the finished arrangement. So the Kenzen takes a little bit of time to get used to because you have to, get the stems into the flower frog. What I was not prepared for was the fact that the stems for the fern were so small and so thin. And so also the clematis was like a little bit thin. When you're trying to select things to go into a Kenzen, try and look for things that are a little bit thicker. Again, like the dianthus was a nice kind of thick stem. Even the freesia had a good sort of thick stem as well. And then the other thing is if you are going to use something like this, what I was doing, I was stripping down the leaf. I was taking part of the dianthus stem, and then I was pushing the fern into the stem. Sometimes it came all the way through, sometimes it didn't. But then from there, you've got like this sort of more secure holder that when you put it into the Kenzen, it stays. So it's a little trick that we just kind of learn along the way. So that definitely helps. And again, using that kind of same tubular thing, you could then go in with, like your Galax leaf. If you felt like the Galax leaf was a little bit too thin as well, you can also stick that in to your little tube holder. And now, again, that's also sort of staying a bit more secure. So we learned along the way. Do you guys have questions for me?
Yeah, there's just one question that came in for you, Amy. Someone asked, do you ever get a little bit nervous about overhanding a stem while you are trying to manipulate? And I guess you kind of got at that in, when you were chatting about this, but yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I always kind of think about whenever I'm, especially when I'm using what I call like these sort of precious flowers, is I'm not cutting it very short. I'm always sort of letting it be on the longer side first, so then I can go in, figure it out, and then cut the stem because I want to make sure that I'm not cutting it too short because that's always sort of a tragedy when all of a sudden you have this little short stem and then it's, not it's not going to work in the arrangement. And then the other thing that I also like to try and do, which I didn't mention at the beginning, is that you kind of want to go in with your more sturdy flowers or your bigger flowers first. It's a little bit different when you're doing sort of like trying to follow along Ikebana, but typically you want to have like sort of the hardier, bigger blooms or greens in first, and then you go in with your final sort of more delicate flowers. And that way you also won't have to encounter kind of like crushing any of the small sort of delicate flowers.
Great, thank you. We got a couple more questions that came in.
Yeah.
Um, Next question here. Any particular guidance on putting together a table arrangement that would be viewable from all sides? So like a 360 arrangement.
Yes. So if you're going to do a 360 arrangement, what I always like to think about is starting from the middle of the arrangement first and then working your way out to the edge. This obviously, I think, would be too tall to be in the center of uh, a table. So what I would do is I would start out with, taking these ferns and then moving them more out along the sides of the arrangement so that I would, this were my container. If I was using the same container, I would think about having them come out more along this line. And if you still wanted to sort of do this Ikebana sort of inspired arrangement for the center, I would just make everything kind of low and then a little bit more asymmetrical so that I would have just, I'd have like these longer elements coming out long and low, and then just having things that were only about up here. So I could do more clusters, but I would do sort of like the same that was going to the front, also going to the back. So I might do like one bloom here, and then spread it out more that way. Or you could still go with more like one-sided arrangement in a sense, but you have two sides where you just have, your purple clematis on one side and then your orange flowers on the other side. So I think do it either way. But again, you want to start by thinking instead of going up, you want to think coming down low and across.
Great, thank you. And you spoke a little bit about this as well, but are there specific flowers that you traditionally use or that are traditionally used in Ikebana?
So I think for the most part with Ikebana, they're all about sort of seasonality and about, what is what's going on in nature at that moment. The reason that we sort of, or why I selected what we have today is it's kind of a little bit of a mix of, you know, flowers that we have growing in our different gardens, but not necessarily at the same time. But also, I was trying to choose a little bit more in terms of the actual different flower shapes. So again, they would, I think when you're doing Ikebana, you would sort of focus a little bit more on seasonality. Like right now, Gloriosa would actually be in bloom in the cutting garden. The clematis we do have out around in the gardens, and those are also in bloom right now. ferns are always sort of in season. The dianthus is a little bit more of an earlier summer bloom, and then freesia is also more of an earlier summer bloom. And then the Galax leaves, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't even know where they come from. But again, you know, I'm also thinking in terms of, buying a lot of flowers for our workshop. So, it all has to sort of be uniform. But if I were to go out into the cutting garden, I would, still look for like the different shapes, the different colors, the textures, things like that. But I would also look maybe for branches. Like right now, hydrangea would be a great one to use because you could do like one big long branch of a hydrangea and then like two shorter, smaller ones together, something like that. So again, I would kind of look around your area and kind of go from there. But again, if you want to do it from more of a design perspective, you could think more in terms of like what I did, like texture, shape, and color.
Great, thank you. This is a bit of an add-on to that last question. Are Ikebana arrangements typically one-sided? So you talked about the 360 experience, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's there's definitely I've definitely seen both. So I will put it that way. The last time I saw like a little Ikebana, like a little competition or whatever. All of the arrangements that were displayed for judging were all one-sided. So I don't know if that was also because it was more of a class where they were then going to be judged on their arrangements, and that's why you were only seeing it from the one side, and it was more of like art pieces, kind of installation-y, and that's why they were all just sort of one-sided. But I have seen them where it has been, all in the round. But I would say for the most part, anything that I've seen in person also online has always been one-sided.
Great, thank you. We have another question here that says, what advice do you have for color mix? So I
Mm,
guess, yeah, color blending, color mixing.
yeah, so I always love to do sort of your complementary colors or colors that are opposite on the color wheel. So that's why we have the purple and the orange today. I think that it makes like for a really nice kind of contrast in terms of any sort of, arrangement that you're doing. It really kind of it makes all of the different flowers pop that way. But again, you could then also think of it in like a monochromatic color scheme where everything is the same color, but it's different shades of that same color, different textures, that kind of thing. But for me personally, I always love a complementary color palette.
Lovely. Quick question here. How often do you add water?
So you want to add water every day. You want to check to make sure that there is water in your container. So now typically I would say, if it was something that was in chicken wire, you can always kind of like empty out your container and then fill it back in. But because this is in Kenzen and everything is where it's supposed to be, you don't want to move it. So like once it's in place, just leave it there and just, you can always just kind of like stick your finger into the container to see if it needs water, but you really want it to be topped off with water every day.
Great. And it looks like this is our last question. If anyone else has any questions, you're welcome to submit them to the chat or unmute yourself. But this is the last question that we have here. Since it's the season right now, Amy, any tips for working with sunflowers? How do you keep the heads from drooping?
Ooh, sunflowers. So sunflowers are an interesting flower, I think, because I personally don't like how stiff they are. And it's usually they're facing forward or they're facing down. And there's like never any like middle ground between them. But what I usually do if I am working with sunflowers is I will get a ton of sunflowers and I will just do an all sort of sunflower arrangement. And so that way you have like the heads at like different angles. Some are facing forward. Sometimes I'll have them like facing each other. The ones that are kind of like drooping down can kind of like go off to the side. So I think when you have like a lot of them uh, in a container, you kind of want to think of like Van Gogh or something like that, where, everything's a little bit like, hodgepodge, and they're not all like facing straight forward. Like you wouldn't see them. I don't know. I guess you would see them actually in nature, all sort of like facing forward because they're always like angling towards the sun. But when you take them out and you put them into an arrangement and you have a lot of them kind of doing their own thing, I think it looks kind of fun. It's a little chaotic, but I like the way it looks. But if you're only using like one or two, uh, have it come out a little bit from your arrangement so that you make it sort of the focal flower, and it's okay that its head is like kind of flopping down. And I would, if your head is sort of like flopping down with the sunflower, I would angle it off to the side so that the head's not like dropping down facing you, but it's more off to the side, sort of like drooping down that way. And then you can use that as your way to kind of go into the shape of the arrangement.
Great, thank you. That's the last question that we have. Is there anyone here who would like to share an arrangement? Maybe you were building along and would like to share. If so, you can just raise your hand or unmute yourself, add to the chat. Is there anyone who would like to share today? All right, I'm not seeing anyone quite yet, so I'm thinking maybe not, but that's absolutely all right. Oh, I got someone here. Here we go.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm rock bottom beginner, and then I went to Trader Joe's for the flowers, and I'm afraid they didn't have what I needed, and now I'm trying to make something out of, nothing. So I'll show you. And maybe you have some suggestions. Let's see, where am I? Can you see this? No. Okay, there we go.
No, it needs to angle down a little bit. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used a little silver dish and it was only 4 inches across. And then, let's see. Sorry, it's just hard to see. I tried to use these.
Oh yeah, the Crespia.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And then I was just trying to use these because Trader Joe's didn't have too much greenery. And these just seem to be overpowering these other more delicate greens.
So you know
So,
what you could do with those? Sometimes when I have big leaves like that, what I'll do is I'll bend it to
oh,
make it to kind of like like a U shape, and then tuck that in to the container that
oh,
way.
that's a great idea.
And
I
then you
didn't
could do that sort
bend
of at
it.
the base, and then it kind of does a little bit of, hiding the mechanics, but then also adding a little bit of an interesting shape to it as well.
Oh, that's a great idea. Thank you. I'll try that.
And I
Um,
see that you have what looks like a large monk. And again, I would probably put that in again towards the bottom of the base of the arrangement as well. Yeah. So that
maybe
it's
like
sitting
up
kind of like
here.
close to the arrangement or the container. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that would kind of mimic what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
Do you,
Oh, I
do you
think it
have
looks
a
oh,
recommendation? Thank you for yeah, looking at it.
yeah.
Do you have any suggestions on where to get flowers?
So are you in the DC area?
Yes. And I know
So
I can't cut them out of your cutting garden, right?
yeah. So I mean, honestly, like this time of year, it's wonderful to go to any farmer's market, and any of the flower farmers that are there, I would highly recommend. I live in DuPont Circle, so I always go to the DuPont market. There are I think two or three different flower vendors that are there. Woolham Gardens, I know, is always at that one, but they always have like a wonderful selection. But otherwise, I really do think like Trader Joe's is fantastic for flowers as well. It just sort of like depends when you are there, whether they've like just gotten in a new shipment of stuff or not. You could always go to Potomac Floral, but there you have to buy everything in bulk. So you can't just buy like, you know, a bundle of like 5 roses. You have to buy like 25 roses. So if you're going in with like other people who wanted to have flowers as well, it's a great deal. But otherwise, I highly recommend just going to the farmers markets.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good
Thank
time of
you.
year.
Wonderful, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to share their arrangement? Oh, I got someone here. Let me just, yeah. Great, would you like to share?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
So I am here with a friend, and we're doing this together. And she's the one who very kindly procured the flowers for us and also went to Trader Joe's. But I think what we have is a burst of colors that's really lovely. And so let me see if we minimize this. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Or is it too busy around
No,
here
I
with
think it looks
everything?
lovely. Yeah, the shape is fantastic. The colors that you have are wonderful too. Yeah,
And
oh, that's wonderful.
thank you, Amy. And then my friend's arrangement. She's right
Yes.
here with me.
Ooh,
So yeah, Elena, if you can show
yeah,
you. Yeah.
this looks gorgeous. Yeah,
Doesn't it? It's very pretty.
yeah. And it
So
feels very summery. It has the Ikebana feel, but it has like still like that lovely sort of like garden feel to it as well.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's funny how different it comes out, although we use the identical flowers.
Oh, it happens all the time.
This
With
is
like
mine.
whenever we do the workshops, you know, it's 12 participants and they all get the same material, the same container, everything, but everyone's arrangement always looks completely different from the other person, which is part of the fun because it's obviously, you know, you're two individual people, so you would have two different arrangements.
Yeah. And I think it really shows your own creativity, which is really nice too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're lovely. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
That was a lovely class.
Yeah, wonderful.
Amazing, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to
Yeah.
share?
I have
Holly here?
on my screen. Okay. So
Oh, beautiful.
I'm looking at it and feeling like maybe I need to fill in, and I have a few more. So any suggestions of where you see empty spots or it's out of balance?
Is there a way that we can see the bottom of it
Sure.
as well? Oh, okay, yeah, like that.
So we got one high, a couple out to the side. I tried to fill in over here so that we had a focal center. And I'm feeling like maybe I need some balance somewhere.
I don't think so. I think it looks absolutely lovely the way it is right now. You can always bring down, is that ranunculus that you have?
Yeah.
So you could bring the ranunculus down closer to the container, and that will sort of start to draw the eye down a little bit if you wanted to do that.
Yeah. I
You could
feel like
also,
that's a good.
I think, you know, if you did that, I would do two. I would do two, sort of like one, and then the other one like kind of like right below it to kind of again have that odd number feel to it. But you could do something like that if you wanted to add more to it. But I mean, otherwise, I really do think it looks quite lovely as is.
Okay, this is going to be a centerpiece for my book club on Sunday.
Oh, wonderful. Make sure that you check it for water every day.
I will. And do you use the flower booster, the flower food as well in the?
I don't, but you could definitely put some of it into it. It won't hurt it. So that'll kind of like help to preserve it too. Yeah.
Okay, the only question I had was my flower frog, you know, was a Michael's purchase, and it's a plastic one that just wouldn't stick to my lovely ceramic dish. So Are there different types that you recommend? Are the ones that are stainless steel a little better to use? And
So I've not used the plastic one, but the one that I have is a metal one. And this one is nice because it has a little bit of a rubber grip to it, so that if you
Yeah.
did have a flat container, the rubber grip will like kind of hold it in place. I think that the heavier ones work a little bit better because they don't move around at all. But again, if you have something that is moving around or it's not on a flat surface, if you can find the floral putty, that green stuff that I have in
Right.
here, I mean, that really holds, it holds well. So I
Well,
would,
Michael's, what there must have been a rush on it. They had none left. But I did have like two-sided tape, which I used to hold it in place because the whole thing kept flopping over.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so I'm going to return the second one because it really doesn't feel very stable. And it has the rubber bottom, but it wouldn't grip to the particular dish. So
Yeah. So the metal ones have like a lot of weight to them. So I mean, they will really just sort of like stay in place even without anything else.
oh, that's great. Thank you
Yeah,
so
of
much.
course.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to share, or anyone who has any questions? Raise your hand. It's like Holly, looks like you want to share.
I
think you're still on mute.
Yep, I already asked questions. That was just me
Oh,
with my
There you go. Okay.
so you can take my hand down.
Perfect. Ooh, we got another question in here for you, Amy. Is the idea to have an emotion?
yes. So if you're again, I kind of like touched very like briefly on it earlier, but again, Ikebana is supposed to be like a way of a form of meditation, so that you're trying to like really connect to, what it is that the flowers or the branches or whatever mean to you. So I do feel like if you can kind of tap into that feeling of connected to nature and to sort of like what it is that your intent is or what's bringing you to create something with Ikebana or that sense of meditation, then I do feel like the emotion of it is sort of going to be whatever it is that you're putting into your arrangement. So, if you are feeling like very joyful and your meditative style is then going to be very kind of joyful, and I think your flowers will feel that way as well. I mean, that being said, you can always just sort of like go into it without any, or like with a completely clear mind. And as you start to arrange and as you start to like feel, how it's coming into shape, that might trigger the emotional element for you. And you might, feel like happy, or you might feel, at peace, or whatever it is. So I think it could be like a, chicken and egg kind of thing, which one comes first.
Great, thank you. We're wrapping up, but we have one more question for you, Amy.
Okay.
Is there any other flower design philosophy besides Ikebana that you use?
So my flower philosophy now is to try and make everything that I am creating look like it just got plucked out of the garden and with as much as possible. So the Ikebana was a bit of a stretch for me because I had to really like constrain myself to not really like fill it to the max, but I really love to have that aesthetic of the overabundant floral arrangement that looks like it came out of a garden.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think we're a little past our time for today, but I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today. And we had a lot of great questions, a lot of great engagement today about this beautiful design that was made by Amy. So big thank you to Amy for these this beautiful design, this beautiful arrangement. Thank you all for joining us today. Again, if you want to join us at Hillwood, we have more virtual programs, in-person programs. I've linked our website in the chat here at hillwoodmuseum.org, so you can check that out if there's anything else that you want to see and join us for. But I just, again, want to thank you all for joining us today, and happy Friday, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend. So thank you
Claire.
all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Great.